What is up, and welcome back to the W Sports Podcast, everyone. Jimothy and Tubby, we are back again, and today is a bit of a bonus episode, if you will. We are, going to talk about MLB in today's world, but not only that, we are also going to get into some of the news around the sports world. Yes, that will include Vladdy's new contract, which will take us into Tubby and I's mid-40s, which is kind of scary to think about, but also some of the basketball things that are going on in the world, and including some hockey and golf today. So we're going to do a bit of everything today on the W Sports Podcast. So thanks for joining us. And Tubby, welcome back to the show.
What's up? I mean, it's been an eventful weekend. We've had some good, the women's game. I mean, maybe it wasn't super eventful, but it was a dominant showing.
Good Lord. Yeah, you take out the biggest blowout win in Final Four women's basketball history, and then you just... Yeah, we're going to rinse and repeat, do the next thing, the next 2 days, we'll do it again to South Carolina, who has tried to become the 2020 version of UConn, and UConn slams that door shut.
Yeah, they tried for the back-to-back, and UConn was just too much. I mean, they were on fire the whole tournament.
Yeah, absolutely destroyed. And, the women's tournament was a successful run this year. Overall, I think there were some kinks that some of the coaches were not happy with the two sites, things like that. Just made some long travel trips. But ultimately, we got two powerhouses in the game to be, in the finals. And that, I think, is good for women's college basketball.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, though, on this game that you had?
I mean, Paige Becker, she was this close from the 50, 40, 90 season. She shot 89% from the free throw line because she missed one of her free throws in that game. But I think it just kind of shows like the testament to, her going through multiple, season-ending knee injuries early on in her career to be able to fight back, make it to the Final Four every year that she was in college, and finally get over that hump and beat the team I think everyone thought at the beginning of the year was the team, because there had been 6 times prior to this game where the preseason number 1, preseason number 2 played each other in the national championship game. Every other time, the number 1 team, preseason number 1 won, except for this time.
Well, I would bring the question, was it always UConn who was number 1? Because there's a good chance.
Yeah. I mean, typically it's usually the way it goes.
Yeah. It was massive win. Again, UConn proves that they are the Alabama of the college ladies basketball world, or the UCLA, if you want to say that from back in the day with basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But tonight we got the men's game. Obviously, in our group, do you know who's leading our bracket challenge, whatever you say? Tubby is in the lead, and you have the championship game, correct?
I do.
Okay.
So I have Florida winning.
Okay.
But there's the funny thing is if Florida loses, who then wins the bracket?
I'm pretty sure it's this guy.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
Oh, look at that. It never happens. Definitely did not happen last year. So I am pulling for Houston, mostly just because of the head coach that we talked about him in the last episode. He has had such a dominant run in Houston. They were a powerhouse back in the 80s, and here we are again.
Yeah,
it's their due, but it's an uphill battle with those guards for Florida. It's going to be Houston's going to have to give everything they have to win this game. And they honestly already gave everything they had in the last game against Duke.
Yeah.
So before I jump in, I want to know, Tubby, what were your thoughts on that game?
It was an incredible game. I mean, it was the best game I think so far of the tournament, even outside of some of these buzzer beaters and stuff like that. Though, just the will of Houston to fight back, like they did the final minute. I think it just shows a testament to the type of coach that Kelvin Sampson is, that no matter what, he's like, as long as we go out there and we try our hardest every game, I'll count that as a success. And that's what they did. They played the full 40 minutes, hard-nosed defense, and it ended up, coming out on top in an improbable, scenario. I think at one point, like was a minute 20, minute 30 left, Duke was a 94% chance at winning that game.
Yeah, and I think the big piece that that played it out, and you saw it on Duke's side of the ball, is that they were trying to let the clock run down,
Hmm.
never really were in sync later on to try and make it a double-digit lead when they could have potentially, or
Yeah.
at least closer to that. And they didn't have good shot selection, and it felt like
Hmm.
because they honestly hadn't been in many of these types of games throughout the regular season and even in the tournament, that's what ultimately took them out, because Houston's
Hmm.
been in many of these games and they never ever quit.
Yeah, and I think it also can go back to like the age of these players. You got how many guys for Duke that this is their first, second year in college, where you look over on the other sideline for Houston, you've probably got 4 or 5 guys that have played at least 4+ years, and most of them are in the in the rotation. So I think that that's another thing. The age, they have done this many times where you got a guy like Cooper Flag and Knopple, who this is their first year in college basketball, and I think it's it's the turning of the guard where everyone thought it was going to be these one and done teams. Calipari kind of started the whole trend with the one and done, and we've never really seen it, but they give some good fight. But it always seems like in the end, those teams with the more experienced players, maybe they're not the best players, but the more experienced players come out on top because they have been there and they've done it multiple times.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Experience, you cannot coach it. It has to
Mm-hmm.
come with reps, and it's ultimately what's going to slow the game down
Yeah.
as those moments happen. And you can't do that. You just have to be in the moment and use it as a coachable moment. So,
Yep.
big game today, obviously, and hopefully Houston wins just for my sake, and hopefully Florida wins for your sake. What do you think the world or the nation would be going for? Because I honestly don't think a lot of people are tuned in now that Duke is out.
Yeah, I'm gonna say if we're talking like popularity wise, more people are gonna root for Florida,
Yeah.
but I think the rest of the United States is probably rooting against them because most people don't want to see Florida win.
No, it just takes me back to Joakim Noah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no thanks. All right, well, let's move on. We got before I almost forgot that push call on Cooper
Mm,
Flag. That was a weak call. That should not have
yeah.
been out. They should have let it play out, and who knows what happened.
Hmm.
Houston would have had a good chance to put a layup in and still taking a lead, but I didn't
Yeah.
like that as a foul call.
No.
Yeah. So we have golf and we have hockey. Which one do you want to hit next, Tubby?
Let's go with hockey. Let's talk about
That's what I was feeling too.
yeah.
All right, unbreakable records as far as they go. We had two, I think, that were broken this year. One was obviously LeBron James, as he broke the
Mhm.
all-time scoring record this season, and now I think 50,000 points, including playoffs, which is insane.
Yeah.
And now Wayne Gretzky, the true GOAT when it comes to the NHL, his record that we thought would stand probably forever
Hmm.
is now broken with Ovechkin taking it down today or yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, one of those records where you probably thinking you'll never see it be broken, and then you get a guy like Alex Ovechkin who just kind of has like that Tom Brady, you know, mentality where it's like, well, even though I'm old, I'm still one of the best.
Yeah, yeah, and he continues to just keep putting up
Yeah.
points. So, is this? Do you think that there is a big change overall? Maybe the game of hockey itself, how it's evolved over the years. Do you think it's no? It's still the same, like as far as even scoring.
No, I mean, honestly, I don't know a whole lot about the past of hockey, so I don't know if I can really give that answer. But the thing is I think one thing you can look at is he broke the record in the same exact amount of games that Wayne Gretzky played whenever he set the record.
Yeah,
So now, if he would have done it, and it been like another year or two, I would go, okay, well, that doesn't,
it's
but
different. Yeah,
he did it in the exact amount of games that Gretzky scored 894. He scored his 895 in the exact amount of games. So
yeah.
I think you kind of got to give it to him just because he did it in the same amount of games. So it's not like he got to play more or whatever. I think that he is the gold goat.
Yeah, I think it has to be at this point. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those crazy stats that you never see
Yeah.
happening. But I always felt like when I was growing up that hockey, you didn't score nearly as many goals. But truthfully, even if you look back 20 years ago, they were scoring similar numbers of goals. I think that it's a little higher now, but
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, that's just what it is. And so he has done it. Does that mean that he's the goat, or is he just
No,
the scoring? Okay, that's all we wanted to
no.
know.
I
Okay,
mean, because you got to look at the other things too. Look at the amount of points that Wayne Gretzky has compared to Ovechkin. I mean, that's one record that probably will never be broke, is the all-time points in NHL by a single player. That record will probably never be touched because it's astronomically high. And he's like, I want to say, Gretzky's 1 and Ovechkin's like 8 or 9. Even with all those goals he has,
Hmm.
Wayne Gretzky also had all those assists.
Yeah, that's very true. What a guy, Wayne Gretzky. People just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even really know. All right, well,
No.
let's move on to the Masters. It tees off. I almost say kicks off. It tees off this week. I saw ESPN baseball last night. If anybody watched that game last night, Sunday Night Baseball, I don't know why you did. It was disgusting. I watched it. It was one point. My wife was trying to talk to me, and I had the game on my laptop, so I turned around and said, "Oh, just so you know, it's a really close game, so you're distracting me." And she was like, "Oh, okay." And then she saw the score at the time was like 16-2, and she just laughed. I was like, "Yeah, it's terrible." But we do have they were saying, ESPN was saying that the Masters Thursday Friday coverage was the ultimate best, and I was like, I mean, I'm always more of a Saturday Sunday guy myself, but
Yeah,
ESPN has coverage, so it starts this week. Do you have any early favorites, or is it more of just a wide open field for you, Tubby?
I'm going to go with the guy that has not done great over the last few years, but seems like he has gotten his game together. And he always is competitive there. I'm going to go with Jordan Spieth getting another green jacket.
About time. That dude, it looked like he was taking off. And truthfully,
Mm-hmm.
I think because we keep searching for the next guy to take off, it shows how impressive Tiger Woods was, or
Yeah.
even just some of the all-time greats, even before him, of course, that it was that they dominated so often and so consistently. Because truthfully, we're still searching. We thought it was Rory. We thought it could have been Spieth, like you said. Brooks
Yeah.
Koepka. Like, there's so many guys. Rand. We could do
You
this all
say
day.
now it's Scotty Scheffler.
Yep.
I mean, the one stat I think everyone needs to look at that is one of the craziest ones I think in sports
Mm-hmm.
is go look at the year average, par, their score for the year. And there's only one guy. There's two guys in the top 10. One of them was Scheffler last year.
Mm-hmm.
The other 9 are Tiger Woods. So at one point, he had all 10 of the greatest single seasons when it comes to scoring average in golf history.
Yeah, and I think he also just the intimidation factor. Like, could you
Yeah.
imagine being on the final 18 holes of a major and then look across and you got red Tiger over there, the red shirt. You're like, good luck.
Yeah, got the Sunday red on. Well, it's over.
It is over now. So, all right. Well, that is. I don't have a good pick. To me, it's just a very open field. I could pick a guy, but I wouldn't have any legit confidence like you do, Tubby. So I will try to watch some this weekend, though, especially if the Cardinals are going to keep playing the way they are. I'm out.
I'm out. I'm done. We're calling the season already.
Yeah, and so the Cardinals have been in 3 of these games. I don't know if the Dodgers have, but I'd be interested. We're going to transition to some baseball here, folks, in case you were wondering. Um, uh, had the Dodgers been in any extra inning games yet?
A couple.
Okay, so let's just say were they the home or the road team?
I think one of each.
Okay, so I think that does play a factor into this. But the Cardinals have been in a couple, 2 at home and 1 on the road. They've actually gone 0-3 in all of them. And the third one, which was against the Red Sox, that first game of the doubleheader, they actually did implement the strategy that I would have considered. However, they were on the road, so that changes things.
Yeah.
If you're the home team and you're in a tie game, what is the strategy in the top of the ninth? Are you bringing your closer in, or are you going to save him for later?
I'm bringing the closer in.
Okay.
Top of the ninth, I'm the home team. I'm going to bring my closer in, make sure he shuts the door, don't give them a chance to score, and then trust my bats to maybe push one through.
Okay, that sounds like okay. So if you're not the Dodgers, are you doing the same thing? Because you have 3 MVPs, you got a stacked bench, you got really good electric stuff in the bullpen. So give me the average fan who is not a Yankees or let's say a Dodger fan.
I think another aspect that you got to look into it is where you at in the order.
Okay.
So say if you're at the bottom of the order, I don't know if I would do that just because can I trust the bottom of the order to push through a run? So maybe depending on who I have left in the bullpen and, a couple, high leverage guys, I would probably go the other direction. Like, I think it really depends on like where you're at in the order, and it really does determine too if you are the home team. Because if I'm at the top of the order, I've got 1, 2, 3 coming up in the bottom of the ninth. I'm bringing in the closer,
Yeah.
even if it's 3, 4, 5. I'm still bringing in the closer because those guys I would have more trust in. But if I'm at the bottom of the order, I'm definitely just bringing in a different high leverage arm than if we go to extras. At least I have them for the 10th.
Yeah, I'm going to be different. So, because as a Cardinal fan, they are a more of an average team,
Mm-hmm.
right, at best.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because if you have a lot of guys who are swing and miss stuff out of the bullpen, sure, I think
Mm-hmm.
that makes more sense to kind of make it more flexible depending on the situation with your team in the bottom ninth. Otherwise, I think there are too many bullpen arms that are not good enough to get 3 outs with a run on second, nobody there,
Mm-hmm.
or that they need, so then it turns into these crooked numbers in the innings, and that's what's a bit the Cardinals in the butt because they keep sending Helsley out there, and he did blow it in one of the games, but uh,
Mm-hmm.
he shuts down the ninth. They don't score a run in the ninth. Then they go out there and they got to put in Fernandez or Roycroft, and they just can't get it done. And then
Yeah.
their offense still can't get it done in the inning, or they do come back, which they did in one of the games against shoot, I forgot who it was. Not the Twins. I don't even remember at this point. The games, there's
Mm-hmm.
only 10 games in the season. I can't remember who they played, but it just shows like they needed it. They got back, and then they didn't have another closer to do it. That's why I would say the closer for the last one, just because there's a guy on base. They're
Yeah.
built different.
Yeah. That definitely does make a difference if you do make it to the extra innings. That runner on second changes your strategy because 2 deep fly balls and I scored a run.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, just random thoughts there. We're 10 games into the season for most every single team.
Mm-hmm.
What are your early takeaways? We're literally 1/16 or whatever through the season. With the biggest lead in any division is a game and a half. That's the Tigers in the AL Central, and then the San Francisco Giants, like everybody thought they would be ahead. They are ahead in the NL West,
Oh goodness. I
just in the
mean,
loss column.
yeah, just I think that overall it's kind of played out the way I think most people would think it would be. I mean, I honestly I didn't know if the Yankees would be able to stay as afloat early on with all the injuries until they kind of settled into things. They did have a couple game stretch there with the Diamondbacks where the torpedo bats did not work and they struck
Hmm.
out 30 times in 2 games.
Yeah,
But they're still top of the division. They're still one of the best teams in baseball at this point record wise. That I mean, I think it kind of seems like par for the course of what we should expect. I don't know if a whole lot of people had the Braves starting out as bad as they did,
yeah,
but for the most part, it seems like things are kind of going the way most people would expect. You got chaos in the Central, in the NL Central. You still don't know. I think one team right now you can go, well, they probably won't win. It's going to be the Pirates because that bullpen is god awful.
hmm
But other than that, I think everything else is kind of playing out the way most people expected. I mean, the Marlins had the hot start and immediately ESPN throws them in the top 10 of the power rankings. Like, oh, look at this. And I'm like, okay, they won 3 games in the first week. Okay, cool. Calm
yeah.
down.
Yeah, I can't look at power rankings right now. As much as I want to, just
No.
to read about these teams, I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't do that right now. It's just too bad. Cardinals are amazing, and the Cardinals are trash right now. Even I did that. I'm so sorry, everybody.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So I would agree. The torpedo bats, they're going to be kind of streaky. We talked about this last week. It's one of those things. People are going to change the bat, and it will work. And then sometimes it doesn't, and people go back to what they've always done. We've seen that
Mm-hmm.
with different bat handles, knob handles, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not too
Yeah.
worried about they've kind of cooled off. They've lost 2 in a row. They even lost today. The Yankees did. So while at the reverse option, the Boston Red Sox look like David Ortiz. The whole team does in 2013. So can't miss
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. It took them a few games to get ready, but that looks like they're starting to find their groove.
100%. And that whole division right now looks competitive. So let's move on real quick. We got a brand new deal for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who said he wasn't going to negotiate anything during the season. Here he is. He has a brand new contract, $500 million.
Yeah.
Is this a better deal than Juan Soto?
Absolutely.
I agree.
Fantastic deal. Just
Yeah.
because at least we know that Vladimir Guerrero has gotten better at defense, and he's playing a position, or I shouldn't say position that's easier. I mean, first base is tough, but I feel like it's a position where
I think he's
you
just
can,
the. Oh no, it's Devers. My bad.
yeah, where you can age into it a little bit better compared to being out in the outfield where you're having to chase down balls over your head and make sure that your arm strength is still there. But he's still, I think, in the long run, at least you don't have him blocked when it comes to the DH role for the next few years because, got so many different situations there with the Mets. They DH Francisco Alvarez or, Pete Alonso, stuff like that, where I mean, we've already seen it so far. Soto out there kicking balls.
Yeah, yeah, and I would say like that's part of it too. The Mets right now. I don't know how they'll feel. 6-3 is great, but like,
Mm-hmm.
are they confident in this team? Because the starting pitching's had some injuries. I don't know. We'll see
Mm-hmm.
how it goes as the year goes on. But I think that'll bring up another question. If you're okay, I would like to play
Mm-hmm.
a game.
Okay.
Where do you think they land in a dream scenario? And I did originally have Vladimir Guerrero on this too, but I think we can go ahead and say he's safely going to be
Toronto.
Toronto at the end of this year. So this will be in a dream world. Where do you expect these players to land? A lot of
All
this
right.
is very speculative, but I want to know what you
Mm-hmm.
think. I want to start with probably the best arm I think on the market, possibly that should be moved, and that'd be Sandy Alcantara, coming off Tommy John. Was healthy in spring. He's had a good start so far. Again,
Mm-hmm.
people probably forgot this. The dude has the best changeup in all of baseball when he's healthy, and
Yeah.
he's going to go out there and get 200 innings supposedly.
Yeah.
So where do you think he should land?
If I'm a team right now, desperate for starting pitching, trying to make a World Series push, it's the New York Yankees.
Yeah, yeah, and I think they have some of the prospects too that would
Yeah.
actually line up to what they're going to get. And I don't know how much they're going to get, what they're going to money wise, but that's a
Yeah.
huge piece for them.
Mm-hmm.
So all right, we're going to move on now. And I think I know what the answer is, but I'm still going to ask because they were also on the list. Bo Bichette.
I think that there's a good chance that Bo probably does get moved because it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of motivation on either side to get that deal done. So let's think of a team that could use trying to think of someone that could use a shortstop right now.
Yeah, probably the
That is
Kansas City
pushing.
Royals.
I mean,
No, I'm kidding.
they might need one. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on that kid. Let's go with the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah. Okay. All right. There you go. Making the moves. They have the prospects too for it as well. Yeah, that's the one that I didn't almost want to ask because you know that they're going to try their hardest to keep him
Mm-hmm.
there in Toronto. But it's a lot of money. 500 million is a lot for one guy. And if you had to choose, I think they chose wisely. So,
Yeah, definitely.
how about the guy that has not gotten traded, Sonny Gray?
Sonny Gray. I'm going to go with the Texas Rangers.
Okay.
I think that it would be a good match. I'm still not sure on the depth when it comes to pitching. John Gray's already hurt. They've got some. I mean, Leiter's pitched good. Kumar, he's had a couple up and down starts, so it's the feeling out process there for him. But
Mm-hmm.
it really comes down to the fact is how much can you trust Jacob deGrom to stay healthy?
Yeah, which is zero. I cannot trust him at all to stay healthy. Now, if he does, great, but I cannot trust him to.
Yeah,
All right, and I would say, like, where would you slot him in that rotation?
I think he'd probably. I mean, Leiter's pitching really good right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Evaldi's still not an ace, but he's still your number one for the time being. I would probably say I would put him at 3 or 4, depending on if DeGrom's healthy.
Way better move, and
Yeah.
he's a great 3,
Oh yeah.
a good 2, a bad 1, and that's where he's
Yeah.
at right now. He's getting rocked like a rocker. All right, let's move on to the other one who can't seem to find a home. We got Nolan Arenado, who, by the way, I didn't make a note of this last week, but after being in St. Louis, he's not on any of the marketing stuff as they went into the season, like any of the banners downtown. He's just not seen anywhere. Which obviously it was an offseason they were trying to trade him, they didn't. So
Yeah.
I get that, but
I think it's the most obvious answer. It's the Dodgers. We've seen the woes that Max Muncy's gone through early on this season. The defense has been a huge problem for Max Muncy early on. Nolan's not the defender that he used to be, but he's still 100 times better at defense than Max Muncy. I think that probably at some point, if Muncy keeps on hitting the way he is, and the defense keeps on faltering the way it is, they will find a way to make trade.
Especially if you see the Padres and the Giants and the Diamondbacks still play
Diamondbacks.
as
Yeah.
solid as they are. So
Mm-hmm.
let's go with one of the most volatile teams I think so far this year. It's going to be the Chicago Cubs. Kyle Tucker.
Kyle Tucker. I'm not going to say he's going to go anywhere. I think that eventually they're going to come to the realization that they need to re-sign him, and they're going to re-sign him.
Yeah, for the Cubs' sake, you better hope because they just
Yeah.
the trade was bought. So, all right, I got 3 pitchers. You tell, or before I do that, I got one more outfielder. Then I got 3 pitchers. So,
Okay.
Marcell Ozuna, does he end up staying there, or does he get moved at the deadline if they're still faltering? Now, again, we think this team is good. 0-7 is pretty tough. We saw the stats on that. I don't think most 0-7 teams have the kind of talent that they do, but we'll see.
No. Yeah, I think if they keep on going the way they're going, he's going to get traded. And I think a good team for him would be the Kansas City Royals.
Oh, yeah, that one would be pretty good. I would love to have him here. Just bringing some power from the right side of the bat.
Yep.
Anyway, all right, let's go 3 pitchers. We'll go rapid fire here. We got Valdez, Dylan Cease, and Zach Gallen.
All right. Gallen's not getting moved. They're going to be in the hunt. I don't see him getting moved. Cease, I'm going to go with Detroit Tigers again. I know that they don't quite need it.
Yeah.
But I think that they are going to make a push.
Yeah.
And I think you throw him in that rotation. Maybe you could even throw the Orioles in there.
I could see that one too. Yeah,
they still
need
have
to make a move.
They still have farm depth down there. The starting pitching is just not up to snuff for them to compete at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be a good one. And who is the other one you mentioned? Valdez, Framber.
Mm-hmm.
Framber, Valdez. I'm going to say the New York Mets.
I could see that. Yeah. Here's the thing. Lots of massive. These aren't even the bullpen names. The guys you're not really sure or prospect for prospect. These are the big name guys, and you look at all the possibilities that are out there. I do love a wild season. And here's the thing: for some of these teams, they need to be first to go after them. To set the market early, or do what the Brewers did a couple years ago with Willie Adames, to go out there and to set the tone early, and to maybe even get a good deal. So maybe that helps.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've seen it a couple times over the last few years. I mean, the Aroldis Chapman trade ended up not looking super great for the Rangers because they ended up giving up Cole Reagans for him. But at the time, no one expected Cole Reagans to be one of the best pitchers in the AL. And when it happened, 2 weeks before the deadline, everyone was like, what were the Royals doing? They could have held out for more and got more from a different team, had a bidding war. But, I mean, eventually they did win the World Series for the Rangers, but it worked out for the Royals. But I think, we've seen it happen a couple times in free agency, too. These teams trying to jump the gun. The Dodgers did it with Blake Snell this year. Jumped the gun, got their starting pitcher, and everyone else was like, whoa, we weren't expecting this to happen that soon. And then everyone else is scrambling, trying to find, all right, well, now we got to offer this guy. We got to offer that guy because that was our number one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm seeing a great baseball. So far, I think baseball has got to be happy. Like 2 total 3-hour games. Everything else has happened. There's been some weather, but it's been a good, great start to the season. It's a lot of entertainment. So, and I think next week you get the Cubs and someone else on Saturday night or Sunday night baseball. Dodgers again, already playing again. So it's a great one for all eyes to be on the sport and a lot of stars too. So it's a good start. But any final thoughts, Tubby, before we sign off for the day?
No.
All right. Well, if you have not already, what are you doing? Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Thank you for joining us, whether you're joining us as the show happened or you're joining us later on. We really appreciate the support from every single one of y'all. Make sure you share the podcast with someone who doesn't have a good sports podcast. This is what we do, and we appreciate all the support from you guys. Till then, we'll see y'all later.
See ya.
See ya.